Last week, I saw a message from a BCBA. It said, I walked out of the session feeling defeated. I drove home in silence and then forced myself to write the session notes anyway. Does this sound familiar? If you've ever ended a session feeling like a wet towel, emotionally flat, drained, replaying every mistake, you're not broken, you're just human. And if no one has told you this today, it's okay to feel wrecked after a really tough session. Because here's the truth: emotional fatigue in our field isn't a weakness, it's a cost. And when you absorb everyone's intensity without a reset plan, it just continues to build and it builds fast. So today we're changing that. I want to show you 5 rituals, not self care, actual rituals. They're meaningful, repeatable actions that help you bounce back even after the session that made you question your career. They're short, doable, grounded in behavioral science, and honestly, they might keep you in this field just a little bit longer. But stick around because toward the end, I'm going to share a simple journaling prompt that can transform how you leave even the hardest sessions and how you can use it today without adding anything to your plate. So here's the first ritual, and that's just to pause and recenter. Let's start right after the storm. The client screamed, the parents napped, you debriefed for the 12th time, you're holding tension, mentally scanning for what you might have missed. This is the moment to just pause and recenter. Imagine how you feel at the end of a really hard day or a stressful session. You just dealt with a behavioral crisis. You've supported both the RBT and the parent through the aggression and self-injury. Emotions were high. What would change if, when you got in the car, you practiced a simple ritual? You just sit, you have your hands open, and you breathe, and you say, the reset begins now, or whatever phrase feels right to you. This isn't about finding inner peace. This is actually a behavioral process. You're shifting your establishing operations so your next move isn't controlled by stress. It's not magic. It's a moment of control, a discriminative stimulus for self-compassion. Of course, breathing helps, but what you do with that emotional energy next is where burnout protection really starts. And that's where we're headed. And the second ritual is to process and debrief. Now that you've grounded yourself, let's give language to what you're feeling. Because after a hard session, your mind writes its own story, and it's usually going straight to failure. But here's where you stop the spiral. You process. That might look like a 10-minute voice memo to yourself. It could be a vent text to your BCBA bestie. It could be a journal entry with nothing but, wow, that was brutal. You're labeling private events. You're letting them out before they turn into antecedents for avoidance tomorrow. Here's one that you can try. After a tough session, challenge yourself to name 5 emotions you're feeling in under a minute. This isn't about being poetic. It's about bringing clarity to the storm. Naming those emotions can reduce their grip, giving you back a sense of agency. Behaviorally, you're reducing the aversiveness through shared verbal behavior. It's a response class that interrupts rumination. One Reddit user nailed it. It said, connecting with a loved one has never failed to pull me out of the spiral. That's the dojo's purpose, to be your verbal community when your brain wants to shut down. And if you've ever felt like you're carrying the session home on your shoulders, what we're doing next gives your body the memo, we're all done now. So that third ritual is a physical reset. Let's deal with your body now. Because while your thoughts may be racing, your nervous system is already fired. Cortisol's pumping, muscles are tight, and your breathing is probably shallow. So we move, not for fitness, but for regulation. You can do 5 wall presses or 10 seconds of shoulder rolls, or walk out the door and take a lap around the building. This is differential reinforcement. You're replacing the internal motor response of tension with competing responses that serve regulation. You might even try something unconventional, like doing 10 jumping jacks in the supply room or pacing briskly in the hallway, not because you love the cardio, but because sometimes your body just needs a clear signal. The crisis is over and you're safe now. And when your body comes down, your brain's just getting started. So let me show you how to shift from spiraling to strategic in under 3 minutes. That's ritual 4, which is a cognitive refresh. Now your brain's catching up, and let's work with that. After a hard session, your mind tends to highlight the worst frames. That was a disaster, or you're failing this kid. Here's how we interrupt that antecedent. Grab a Post-it and write down one thing that went right. Maybe the client waited 3 seconds. Maybe you didn't escalate. Maybe the parent showed up on time. Then preload a goal for the next session. Use your systems templates. Let tech reduce cognitive effort. Imagine how this could look. You're tempted to replay every second of a tough session, but instead, just write down one thing that went well. Maybe your client responded to your prompt. Maybe you kept your cool when things escalated. That moment becomes your anchor. It reminds you that progress exists even on hard days. You're doing the work. This is behavioral momentum. You're pairing a small success with low effort planning to keep the pattern going. But even if your brain resists, if your why isn't intact, you're going to keep circling back to burnout. So let's reconnect that together. And this is ritual 5, and that's reconnecting to your purpose. This one's a really important one. You've grounded, you've debriefed, you've moved, you've refocused, but there's one more move, and this one might be the most important. Reconnect to your why. Burnout doesn't just come from exhaustion, it comes from meaning loss. So you anchor yourself. That might be a text to your clinical director. Wow, that was tough, but I saw potential. Or it might be reviewing the sticky note on your laptop that says you are making a difference. So imagine this. If you've just wrapped up a session that left you emotionally drained, before you check your messages or start on your notes, pull out a notebook and answer one simple prompt. What did I give today? Maybe it's patience, maybe it's guidance, maybe it's just presence. That single reflection can be the thing that reorients your mindset, not toward perfection, but towards purpose. This is ACT in action, realigning with values through small verbal behaviors. But let me give you a quick rundown, something simple that you can keep on a sticky note in your glove box or tape to your clipboard. I call it the one-page recovery plan. First, pause and recenter. That's your 30 seconds of intentional breathing. Just sit, breathe, and reclaim your calm. Then process and debrief. Say out loud or write it down how the session actually felt. Label it. That helps you stop the spiral. Next, do a physical reset. Move your body, anything that sends a signal to your nervous system that the crisis is over. After that, do a cognitive refresh. Jot down one win, just one. Then preview a tiny next step so you're not stuck in the muck. And finally, reconnect to purpose. Before you close the laptop or get in the car, pause and ask, what did I give today? Run through this even once or twice a week, and it'll start to shift the way you carry your stress. If you're looking for a space to actually talk through this stuff with real people who get it, no judgment, no performance, the Master ABA Dojo is built for that. It's your burnout buffer. And let's be honest, some sessions feel like tiny emotional earthquakes. You walk out and something in you is shifted. That shift can lead to resentment or it can lead to renewal. This reset plan is about is functional replacement behavior for self-abandonment. You're saying, I matter too. In ACT, we talk about committed action, taking steps towards values, even in the presence of pain. Every ritual in this video is a micro action towards staying in the work without losing yourself to it. So try one today, just one of the steps, because you didn't come here to suffer. You came here to serve, and you can't serve from depletion. Let's refill you. Let's reshape how you recover.